Today's webinar is co-hosted with Meiro and co-hosted with Blink Digital in Philippines with the great support of She Loves Data. Now, She Loves Data community is actually very close to our heart, so let me give you 1 minute overview why we partner with them. Pavel and I actually co-founded this nonprofit movement a few years ago where we wanted to support women in tech. And not only women in tech working in tech, but as well women that are working in any kind of line of profession, because we feel that data is so important and it's a part of every job today. So moving on, Domi, She Loves Data is an organization that supports women with the digital and data literacy. We have a lot of marketers that are part of the community because, as you know, let us know who of you guys are actually coming from marketing. A lot of marketers are realizing that marketing is a discipline that is no longer only about the creative, it is a technology discipline. And there is a lot of data we need to use to actually drive the precision marketing today. So about 30% of the community is actually having a marketing background. Moving on. What we do is we have chapters all over the globe today, or all over 3 continents. We run by volunteers. And look us up at the shelovesdata.com. Now, not taking so much time, get your coffee ready because we will start to look at today's theme. And I chose to put up here the digital transformation definition because a lot of organizations are going through digital transformation, which is usually actually starting with customer, consumer, and user data. And why is that organizations are moving from the product focus into customer and consumer centric way of functioning. And today we ask experts, Pavel from Meiro. Hi, Pavel. We have Darwin from Blink Digital, and we have Dan from Home Credit in Philippines to look at what are the practical tips and actions we can take today in the changing world of fast-moving technology and digitalization to be able to actually use the technology in a right way and have an ideally impact on our bottom line. A little bit of housekeeping before I actually give the word to Pavel. Please use the Q&A here if you have some questions. We will be interactively answering them, or we will take them at the end. We will have 5-10 minutes at the end for the questions and answers. Let us know, as I said, where you're from, those who are joining in a little later or joining in now. Use the chat if you want to ask something. We do have some moderators that will be chatting with you if you have some questions or technical issues. And as well, we will have some polling questions coming in someone's presentation here. So let us know your opinion. With no further ado, I will hand over to Pavel, who's going to be talking about not only tips on customer segmentation, but how to use smartly data in your marketing activities. Pavel.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Greetings from Prague. It's quite early out here. I do hope you guys get to see my screen now. I'm trying to get it into present mode. You can hear me well and you can see the screen, right?
So far, so good.
Perfect. Okay. So my big goal for today, and not just for today, but for every presentation, is to talk slowly so everyone can understand. I do have a habit of speaking way too fast. So if that happens, please do let us know in the chat and someone will pick it up, I promise. So thanks, Jana, for the introduction. I think I want to start with one sort of a big idea. And I think that's when I think about, presentations like this, I really want you to take away one thing. And I think despite all of the buzz in marketing these days that you see online in publications, industry studies and analysis from experts and consultants about where data is going and third-party data availability and trading, and you can buy all of it, I still think that today I want to draw an attention to first-party data again, because I think this is from last few years of interactions with the businesses that I've been having with our company. I think this is still the most underutilized resource there is, because it's not easy to work with it. But if you do it right, I think really first-party data, and if you use it right, has a potential to impact your company's P&L. Most significantly, I do. That's my belief, and I really would like you to kind of take it away today, and I'll kind of explain what I mean by that a bit more practically. So we're going to talk about segmentation today. So what does it even mean? I really like to start with, framing it up and setting a scene. So Wikipedia tells us that marketing segmentation is an activity of dividing a broad consumer or business market, normally consisting of existing and potential customers, into subgroups of consumers known as segments based on some type of shared characteristics. So that's what Wikipedia says segmentation is in theory. It's nothing new. It's been with us for decades, I think. Really, as long as there has been business, I think businesses have been trying to sell to different consumer groups. How smart or not smart are they about it is, varying to degrees. But I think I would like to kind of point out, what from my since my young age in business, how I've perceived a segmentation. If you look at large company, I used to, my first sort of a business white collar job was as a salesperson in a hospitality. We used to sell hotels accommodation to corporate segment, and meaning I needed to have an understanding on who buys what really well, which would typically mean me as a business user with zero technical skills having to go to an analyst, say, hey, I would like a understanding of how this particular segment performed in this particular time frame. Can you pull it up for me? So your classical data mining request, and the bigger the company is, the less flexible this type of exercise is going to be. Data has been typically in the hands of very few people who have the skills to handle it, and that's not really helping the business, because these type of questions should not even be answered within any response. So that's definitely something we are trying to address in the markets, is the data availability, and you will see that this is one of the few kind of areas that I'll dig into today a little bit more. So segmentation, and where do we even start here? We understand what it is now. So what are the types of segmentation we can have? Typically, demographic segmentation, very obviously, gender would be very typical. Age grouping would be typical in here. So you are looking at different types of customers or potential customers there. Psychographic segmentation, I think this has been probably the newer sort of a comer to the game. So you are looking at describing your customers with the more of a sort of a soft traits. So you're looking at their likes, motivations, beliefs. So very much derives from psychology and how you can observe and study people. I think this has been probably the most popularized by the scandal from Cambridge Analytica. If you remember the original Trump election in the US, I think there's been a fair amount of psychographic segmentation done very, very well on a really good data set in place. So this is probably what popularized this a little bit more. Then you are looking at behavioral segmentation, meaning who buys what, who clicks on what. So specific actions of the user you can observe, behaviors, patterns in time. Or geographic segmentation. Typically, are people living in urban area or a sort of a rural agricultural area? Are they commuting? So definitely, all of these things do make a big difference. So that's quite typically few of the groups that you could be looking at. Now, I want to start with a personal example, and I like examples of how not to do, because I think from them we can learn a lot. I would like to crack here the joke about how can you tell that someone is a vegan? Like, you don't really need to find out, it will tell you. So that's quite obvious here. If you look at this, this is a screenshot from my mailbox. I've purchased a couple clothing items from this online store that I saw on Instagram. It's a pretty cool brand. You know, everything is ethical. Everything is biodegradable. Everything is super eco-friendly and ecological. So you have you see what you see right now is a confirmation of the order I've got on May 4th. Now, what happens on May 5th is I'm sending these people an email that I am being followed on Instagram probably or Facebook by ads for a discount on their brand. And if you kind of reverse engineer this, by the way, I got the discount, so they refunded me 10% of the price I paid. But I don't think this is a great customer experience. So if you see what happens here is I do get targeted with an ad initially. I discover the brand, I start interacting with it, I look at it on my phone, but as a kind of an old school consumer, I don't really purchase on my phone, I purchase from my desktop. So I had looked at the store on my phone, I kind of picked what I like, and I closed that session and went on my way. So that's one device, one consumer. Then later on that day, I went to the store again from my desktop, and I made a purchase with my card from my website browser. Now, the company, what's happening here is segmenting me, right? From the first exercise, from that browsing on the mobile, they are segmenting me as someone who didn't finish a purchase, but was looking into a few things. So probably someone who is already in the consideration stage. So that's an example of segmentation. Where this doesn't really work out is that they are not able to recognize me across multiple touch points with the company, and therefore are delivering poor customer experience. So this is where segmentation can go wrong in a more amusing sort of way, and it's not something that is, you know, entirely prompting me not to ever be a customer or immediately churn, but it could be, if, you know, the company just lost a bunch of money that they didn't really need to. So that's the 10% that they return to me is something I really, you know, they really didn't have to do. So that's an example of segmentation kind of gone wrong. Let's look at the sort of a top 5 areas here in when we start talking about smart segmentation. You know, whenever I see the quote about data being the new oil of this century, I have such a cringe moment. I can't really do it anymore. But why I chose it here is because I think there is a good analogy. If you look at oil is certainly valuable, but oil is more valuable when it's in the refined form in the tank of your car or motorcycle, then if it's raw in the ground, or worse yet, even spilled in an ocean. So the way you are using it and working with it obviously really matters a lot here. So there is a 5 sort of top trends I really want to draw attention to, because it's a short presentation. I can't get into that much of detail to make it a workshop really. So data quality. Alpha and omega of everything we do in segmentation, in my opinion, and something that where my team really focuses a lot in build products and solutions for customers. Customer identity. Who actually is your customer? Are you a super crucial question. Taxonomy. How well and simple are you able to describe your customers? So what are you actually all these people? Very, very critical again in a super fast-paced time and era. Very critical. Last one that I really like personally, and we focus a lot on, is the data access. Meaning, we've seen fancy dashboards, we've seen great insights generated, but when the business doesn't really do anything, when the business really doesn't do anything with it, we still you know, are better than where we live. So cleanliness. I do hope you can hear me well. I'm getting a couple of
watch out. I think your microphone, when you move a little bit too much, there are sometimes disturbances.
All right. Okay.
And you have about 6 minutes left for your presentation. 6, 7. And now you are muted, Pavel. Great. Let's test it.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
You can hear me now, right? Yeah. Something happened.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. So data quality. Really try my best not to move. So what are we looking at? It's really what the data looks like in its kind of raw form. So typically dirty duplications. You know, I've seen so many marketers who tells me in the meetings that they have a database where they themselves are 5 times. So clearly not very good. Not standardized data sets. So data has a different shapes, forms, different type of entry formats. Really quite a common. Missing granularity. To be able to say that someone visited your website versus someone looked at something specific on your website is a very different animal. Best structure. I mean, where and how you store information in order to be accessible, actionable is absolutely a bit more kind of IT discipline, this part, but really critical. So I'll show you an example here. This is actually a little bit anonymized data from people who have registered for the webinar today. And I would like you to pay attention. So obviously the company and the last names were changed a bit. But what you see, what was not changed is the country. So there's a field in the form when you are signing up where some people write Philippines, some people write PH, some people will write a city, some people will write a region. So for example, Kerala here, that's clearly not a country. So that's a very typical example of where data quality is something that's not really observed very well, and there is a fair amount of modification that needs to happen there. Identity. Who is your customer? Super critical. You have me as your customer looking at your websites and apps from multiple devices. You have me using email addresses to connect with you, phone numbers to connect with your customer care or call center or sales team. You have me in your loyalty systems, and if you are not bringing all of this together, this is where you are missing out. The duplication of your customer database across sources is an essential exercise, something we do with every single customer, and you would be surprised how many people are multiple times in many different databases within one business. So very critical, something we really like to talk to businesses about, because that's a big opportunity. Online and offline, I mean, this has been an issue since online was conceived, but I think right now we have also multiple screens, multiple devices, which is causing a bit of an issue, and intelligent tracking across these is something that you really need to focus on. Blind spots, missing pieces of customer journey. I really like this one, especially when we work with FMCG type of companies, for example, where they don't really necessarily own that last part of the customer journey. This is something that they don't have the transactional piece. They are trying to obtain data in a different ways, and awareness of this is really critical. There's a big drive from the big FMCGs to retain and capture as much of a consumer data recently as they can. There's a poll coming up here, if you guys can vote with a question. So how intimately do you know your customers? You can vote whether you know their demographics, whether you know their names and emails, and whether you know what they had for breakfast. So you know them quite well in a detail. This is if you can just quickly vote on that, and we can then move on. So lifetime of identifiers. I think identifiers super critical in this day and age. So if you are following digital marketing trends, you will see that there is a deprecation of IDs from mobile phones right now. There is definitely shortened lifetime of advertising third-party cookies. So if you are focused on buying data from a DMPs, good luck with that. That's not really going to be there going forward a lot in the same quality there has been before. So that's a really a few examples here. One last one on the identity is obscure business rules. We have seen businesses that track transactions, not customers. So every transaction would have a unique ID, and this is how the business look at things. And this is really not ideal. Okay, so few things on that. I think I can close this one here now. We'll look at the results later. So taxonomy. So for example, how are you describing in a simple language that's usable for a business, and emphasis on that, your customers. So for example, geographic location, where is home, where is work, that's critical. Digital behavior, which type of a device are they coming from, when do they visit, how frequently, what's the recency of it. Transactional, you could be looking at total spend per purchase, timing of a purchase, repeat buy, demographics, household, is this family, single person, where are they in the terms of a life stage within your business and within the suite of products. Customer experience, definitely something that there is a big drive in measuring this recently, so definitely work this into your mix for segmentation. You don't want to be selling to customers who are not happy right now. Or then focus on how do you present this information. So visualize it in a simple way, but in a way that most importantly usable for the business. Now let's look at timing. I think timing is really important because there's a few things that come in play here. We're looking at timing from perspective of attribution. So you're looking at, where did we source this customer? Where did they come from initially? What involved that? How can we get more of those if they are high quality down the line? Changing behavior. So if you look at customer journey as a stages, which probably every company has designed internally in some methodology or other, you really look at customers kind of going quickly in and out of it right now. So you need to be making sure that the timestamp of this journey is something you can act on. So making sure you track timestamp within every interaction, very critical. Lifecycle management. So lifecycle management from the perspective of, if you're a company that doesn't have just one product but has a suite of product, you are going to sell to the customer in different products in a different life stages as they age. For example, family and nutrition products basically are a great example there. Recency. So we're definitely looking at segmentation from this perspective. I can give you an example of a customer. We were looking at business that's about 5 years old, and we were able to pull out customers who have been with the business for more than 3 years, but haven't been active in last 3 months, meaning this is a repeat business, regular usage. So they were really looking at their actual behavior over time, but within sort of the recent time frame, so they can go back and activate them. The last one, obviously, once you understand the past, you will have a better position to understand the future. So we'll move into kind of what's next in prediction once you have constructed the timeline of a user. Give you an example again of one that we see, one that's not really good. So you see that customer files this is a screenshot from a customer journey within our product, an example where we would see that a customer files a complaint at 9/11 and gets targeted with a summer sale from a sales team in 9/41. Is that a good segmentation? Are you in mood to buy more from the same company when you file the complaint specifically? Probably not. And having silo data will never allow you to segment this way. So this is really what we focus on. Importantly, I really personally, this is kind of my favorite here topic, is who is able to work with the data access. So you have structured it, it's clean, you have well-described customers, you have resolved the identity. So you have a good picture of your customer, but so now you have to put it in action. Importantly, we really like to empower business users. I think having that experience, we really have looked at we really have looked at how business intelligence the tools that are a little bit harder to use and adopt by a regular business user who don't have technical bearing are a little bit hard. So we really think business users needs to be presented data in a very different way, and in one way that's simple and that lets them to do things themselves. So if you go back to my original example, when I would be requesting from my analyst a market segmentation, understanding the spending pattern by a few countries, this is something I this day and age should be able to do myself as a business user, because I can formulate that query in my head and I can write it down. So I should be able to nicely visually do this. So this is what we focus on again. Analysts, I think we often see analysts, data scientists, data engineers that are really spending way too much time on data preparation rather than on the actual analysis, interpretation, and action suggestion of the data. So again, you will tick those boxes by doing the first sort of four steps right typically. Agencies, I can't stress this strong enough. What we see often, because we as a software vendor, we typically stand somewhere between a client, a brand, and advertising agencies who for us would be data activation partners. And we often see that the agencies are doing still 2020, are still doing targeting based on the sort of descriptions that they get from the client and those demographics or the psychographics, but not actual customer data, because they don't really have a secure way of accessing clients' data and activating it. So really important, again, something where we really focus on. If you have that issue, talk to us. Machines, I think that's the sort of the second branch of the data work, is that we will at some point have more or less self-reliant machines that are going to be autonomously doing this. But right now, I think we need to make sure we are starting accommodating both in this world, but machines as well as humans in a governed way that's not necessarily contradicting one another. I want to share with you a practical example of, we like to talk about eating our own dog food at Meiro. So here's an example of a segmentation that my marketing technologist, Vera, who runs our CDP program, looked at. And you see that she's doing a segmentation here where she's signing up, she's listing people who signed up on our website for this webinar. So this is you in there. It's 198 people. And she's looking at people who visited from UTM from Instagram, so specifically Instagram source traffic here, and people who also are not known in our CRM. So this is people we have never talked to before, we don't have any sales interaction with, and that's a really good kind of behavioral segmentation, and obviously very recent one, because this is an event that's just happening right now. So that's something that we can then go talk to the new potential customers and see if there are any people that are interested in what we do here. So that's an example. So wrapping up quickly, I think Jana said 10 minutes ago that I had only 5 more minutes.
Exactly.
So almost there. What does the future look like? I love this picture of a flying car, because there's this old joke that in tech that we were promised flying cars and we got 140 characters or whatever Twitter has these days, or something like that, which that's really still far from some type of normal adoption. So here's what I would like to kind of highlight as a focus for next period, and that's emphasis on consumer privacy. And this is one that's driven to some degree by tech, one that's driven by legal frameworks, and I think brands need to be more sensitive of it, even just from the perspective of great customer journey. If you're respectful in your relationships, obviously it's going to go way further. Second one is a stronger reliance on data in personalization, and I mean like real data. I mean not saying that not A/B testing. I mean one-to-one segmentation. The future really lies in what marketing buzzwords now are calling segment of one, where you are not looking at 10 personas, but you are looking at 10 million personas if you have 10 million customers and potential customers together. So being able to push the right thing in front of the right person at the right time requires data, well structured, clean, and very well served when needed. Humans and machines, this combination, I'm a true believer in this. I think machines will help scale the human know-how. So it's not going to be just machines, it's not going to be just humans. We have to work together. So I do believe that's the future. And importantly, I think with all of the privacy-driven trends, we will see less third-party data. That's been big proliferation of all of your DMPs and all of your wherever you can buy data from, you are buying it today. I think there is going to be more first-party data trading, and I think strategically this really makes sense, because if I'm buying the same DMP as my competitor, I'm accessing exactly the same data. That's an equalizer. That's not giving me an advantage. If I'm doing something with someone that access to, that's what's going to give me an advantage. So I think from strategically, from the business perspective and strategy, that's going to be the way forward for the smart brands. So thanks very much for the attention today. Sorry for running a little bit long, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A towards the end. And remember that first party data is what drives your company's P&L, and this is what we are all in business for. Thank you, guys.
Started to talk a little bit more fast at the end, Pavel. That's actually good. We have one question from Joyce from Manila about how smart segmentation can help the consulting business. So maybe we can look at it, and Pavel, you can type the question there. I would like to introduce our second speaker, Darwin. We will be talking about loyalty. And I think loyalty is so important, because today we want to retain our clients, and especially those that are bringing, a majority of our profits. And with all the different and large competition out there online, with everyone bringing services online, loyalty is even more important. So Darwin, to you, thank you, Pavel. And let's talk about why loyalty is important, especially today.
Thank you so much, Yana. Thank you so much, Pavel. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
Loud and clear. This is great.
Perfect. So Pavel talked about smart segmentation, and we learned a lot about churning your first party data. What I'd like to talk about today is how do you get your unknown customers to, from your unknown customers to known customers to brand ambassadors. And before we get into that, let me just talk about some of the industry shifts that are happening right now with regards to our consumers. More and more, our consumers are demanding for more than the transactional, traditional and transactional relationship with you, which means customer experience is becoming sort of like the mainstream or the benchmark for all the engagements and the businesses that you will do for their products. We're moving from word of mouth to word of mouse. What this means is that the buying behavior of consumers right now typically starts online, especially when they when they want to research about your products and about your solutions. We are moving from powerful to being influential. What this means is that brands, it's not enough that brands are powerful, they need to be influential. They need to relate, to be able to relate not just to the majority of the audience, but also to the minority. And finally, trustworthy brands and trustworthy companies takes on a different meaning. And what this means is that consumers already demand transparency from their brands. So having these major shifts in mind happening with our consumer, there are still a lot of problems that we encounter when we only think about our unknown customers, and we think about, and we don't find a way to turn our unknown customers to known customers. Predominantly, what it means for us is that we're constantly retargeting and reacquiring the same user. We don't have the investment. Some companies don't have the investment to really drive down the unknown customers down the sales funnel. And the very reason for this is that they don't have a practice. They don't have a practice to turn unknown customers to known customers, or maybe they haven't invested in the right technology to properly acquire the data that they need and to turn that data into what Pavel talked about earlier, which is smart segmentation. But in this digital space, in this digital economy, how hard is it to really turn unknown customers into known customers? I mean, what is the secret? It's really quite simple. It's trust. Just like in real life, the first interaction, if you are a business and if you want to do business, if you're a consumer and you want to do business with a particular product or service, you have to trust that company. You have to trust that brand. You have to trust that product. So just like in the digital space, trust is really the fundamental formula into building successful relationships with your customers, and then turning them into loyal brand ambassadors. And actually, it's more common than you think. Right now, we're letting the mobile apps of our banks, relying on them to transact and to do our financial transactions. We're giving access to platforms like Waze on our exact locations at any given time. We're letting e-commerce platforms into insights into our most intimate purchases. And we're trusting platforms like Grab to bring us safely from one destination to another. So it's really being practiced right now. It's really more common than we think. And if you are a brand that's in the middle of your digital transformation and you're shifting most of your business, most of your engagement to online, there's a concept that Pavel talked about, which is digital identity. Simply put, digital identity is you, it's you and me on the internet form. And what we need to do when it comes to considering digital identity, just like when we first meet someone, we have to get to know them. We have to learn more about them in order for us to serve them better and to serve them more. And for that, I'd like to walk you through some of the tips and some of the steps that we can take. The first one is the first digital handshake. So if you are a brand or a company, and this is most likely your brand's first interaction with your consumer, this is probably your advertising that you posted on social media. During the first digital handshake, what you have to consider is that just like in real life, it's basic, saying hi, hello. So this is basically your hi, hello to your customers. Hi, I'm Darwin. What can I do for you? What's your name? Whenever we do the first digital handshake, and when we first collect that first data point, that first data of our customers, we have to ensure that we're only collecting as less as possible and what is just needed. So this can be a name and an email address. And then we have to incentivize our users. We have to give them a compelling reason for us to give us their name and their email address. So if, for example, you're an insurance company, you can ask for an email address to send them your proposal or the information packet for the insurance policy plan, for example. Now, when your customers are ready to transact with you, then we progress to registration. And again, at this stage, at this step, we only collect the necessary information that we will need for our customers. So this can be, if you're an e-commerce company, then this can be a delivery address or maybe a mobile number. We cannot collect more than that because we risk turning off the customer to your brands or to your products. And I've seen this happen so many times for many different brands for many different products. So when obviously we want the customers to keep coming back to you, to keep transacting with you. The next time that they visit your portal or your mobile app, you have to make the log on as seamless as possible. You may need to employ facial recognition or social logins to make this easy. And as you move and carry on that relationship with your customers, personalization at a scale will happen. And Pavel talked about this on how you can, the more you know about your customers, the more you can have a one-to-one relationship with your customer. And that's kind of what we do here at Blink. So we analyze your customers from various touch points, map out their ideal journeys. We come up with solutions and global platforms such as Meiro to help support that personalization, that backend technology, and that CX practice that you want to establish in order to build loyal customers for your brands. And just like any other relationship, it has to be nurtured and it has to be grown. So how do you do it? Number one, you have to reward them for connecting with you all the time. So every time that you send them an email and they open the email, you may want to offer vouchers or incentives or just discount coupons, for example. But if you want high returns on your connection with them, you have to give them a compelling reason to engage with you all the time. Number two tip is you have to take care of their data and use their data only for good. What this means is that you have to assure and ensure to your customers that you're using all the necessary security means to take care of their data, not subject them to leaks or hacks. And more importantly, as a practice, you need to inform them on how exactly you're going to use your data, you're going to use their data and what data you're going to use. And then you have got to give them the control back to which of these data they can share and which of this data you as a company can use. And then finally, you have to offer great CX across touch points. So this means if you're a bank, for example, and you and a consumer would want to come in for an appointment with your investment officer or branch officer, an interaction, the first engagement can be through a mobile app by booking that appointment and having that confirmation via a real person with the time and then with the appointment date. And then that's from online to offline. And then after your meeting, automatically all those information packs, all the proposals can be sent to you via online, and a feedback mechanism can happen also within that single customer journey. So offering customer journey excellent CX across all touch points is becoming quite important. And when we talk about great CX, these are just some of the brands that we've grown to love and to use, simply because for one thing, they offer great customer experience, they offer great service, but also their top of mind is always what the customer needs and what would make the lives of what would enrich the customers' lives more. And how important is customer experience? A study by McKinsey & Company actually tells us that it's really quite important. 70% of buying decisions based on customer experience. What this means is that if you are, for example, a telco company, having the lowest sachet pricing or the lowest plan does not necessarily win you customers. You may have the lowest plan, but if your internet is not able to serve your audience properly in a particular area, then you lose out on which competitor offers a better service. So this is what it means. This also means that just like our behavior right now, we're willing to pay premium for Grab or Uber to take us to places as compared to the taxis, because of the experience that we have and the convenience that we get from all of these sharing platforms. So coming into why it's important to get to know your customers on a personal level. 10 years ago, personalization was mainstream. Every internet company wants to offer personalization. But over the years, it has morphed. And right now, especially in this day and age, we want to know our customers as companies and as brands. We want to get to know our customers because we want to show them empathy. We want to show them that we understand them and then we care for them, and then what their needs are at the top of our minds. And when we show a lot of empathy, we can actually get love from our customer. So the winning formula for customer relationships is actually data plus trust. Pavel talked about machines cannot do it alone, or people cannot do it alone, and it has to be together. So this is sort of the winning formula for how to win customer relationships. And what this means is from collecting the information from your customers, protecting that data and only using that data for good, so that you can offer wonderful ways on how to win customer loyalty. And once You've had that formula, you will continue to do it over and over again as you keep engaging with your customers and with your consumers. And that will turn your consumers into loyal brand ambassadors. In the digital space, it's important to note that the golden rule is always treat your customers online as you would treat them offline. Finally, I'd like to end with this one. Enterprises no longer compete with their competitors, but rather with the best experience that they've ever had. What this means is when you think about your customers, you need to think about the best experience that you've had. For example, what you have, the convenience that you got from booking your Uber ride or your Grab ride should be as easy when you transact with, when you transact with your bank, it should be as easy and as convenient as when you do it with all of these mainstream platforms right now. I think I will end with that one. It's a short and quite fast. I apologize, but I would love to talk to you more about CX and customer experience in general, and how we, together with Meiro, can help you win customers and win loyal brands and brand ambassadors.
Thank you so much, Darwin. This is great. Well, you were talking about Grab, and that's interesting because like we see lots of customers that are checking both Grab and Gojek, and then they go with the one that is cheaper. And we do have one question from the audience, from Sarah, who's saying that brands are burning a lot of money to offer discounts. And it actually creates, disloyal customers, because it's as well almost no effort to switch between brands. So what does that mean? If you can reply here, because I kind of see that you have to know your customer, but what does it mean in the age where there are lots of discounts and it's easy to switch between brands?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, Sarah. I think it's quite interesting what's happening in Gojek with, I suppose that's Indonesia, right? So yeah. What will happen there, I think, is then it will be a race towards providing the better experience. And what that means is whichever platform will get to know their customers and their specific customers well enough to go beyond the price war. So we see Gojek, we see Grab. I'm not favoring Grab, by the way. I think they're both excellent. We see Grab turning into a super app for food and right now for financial services. So it tells me that they're listening to their customers and they're offering more and more products, and it'll be a race. And the race will be who gets to know their customers more intimately.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. And I've heard the term last year for the first time, that there is for the super apps, you have the super users and super consumers, the people that are basically expecting you to offer everything. And it's easy to stay in one app and get everything sorted out. So that's as well the future. Thank you so much, Darwin.
Thank you.
We will move on to Daniel, who's going to be talking about consumer trends, what was happening before and what is happening now. Daniel is a head of collections for Home Credit in Philippines, and data means everything for organization that is in consumer finance. And Daniel has been working with consumer data a lot. So let's look at how the change is actually influencing the consumer behavior, but as well what the organizations are doing. Daniel, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning. I'm in Manila, so it's afternoon for me. Let's imagine, I hope everybody can see my screen and everybody can see this beautiful, beautiful bank. Let's imagine the financial institution. So every financial institution, our financial institution is providing money, it's providing loans to the customers. We have here two customers. We have Maria, she's a nurse and she doesn't have any kids. And here we have Josh, it's a young father of two beautiful children, and he's a worker. So that's basically what we know about them. And our bank decides, okay, I will give them the money. And as every financial institution, our financial institution, our bank is also looking to get the money back. And for that, there are multiple ways, like how to make sure that that our bank will get eventually their money back. So our bank is clever. Our bank doesn't want to disturb our customers or their customers. Our bank wants to make sure that it's providing the best in the class service. And even the collections part is the service. So people are not, or tend not to like it, but it's here, and it's here for a purpose. And our bank has this information we see at the screen. So our bank wants to know that it's to drive profit, to decrease the cost, to keep the customer experience at the top level. The bank will not be like reminding everyone, right? So take a look at that. Take a look at these two guys, Maria and Josh. And based on the information that we have, and that's the information that the department of the bank has, like what would we do? Like who we should remind about the upcoming due date? Josh, like looking at the, let's say, risk profile, it's clear. Josh has 2 kids. He's a worker, which means lower income. Whereas nurse, the stable employment, no kids. So clear decision based on the data. Now, what's happening right now in the world? And this picture like nicely summarizes it. We have a COVID pandemic. COVID pandemic is here. No one asked for it. No one wished that to happen, but it is here, and it will be here. And it's affecting everyone's lives. It's affecting my life, it's affecting your lives, it's affecting life of the people here in Manila, everywhere in the world. And there are certain things that it's doing. People are not able to do what they were used to be, right? They were used to be more offline, and this pandemic simply accelerates the digital revolution that we have here. I will be talking more about the situation here in the Philippines, and I will try to be more faster. So how does what we have here in the Philippines? Here in the Philippines, the Philippines is typically one of the bottom 20% of the countries with the worst digital environment. There is totally missing digital footprint, though Darwin was showing that there are like multiple organizations that are trying to create that footprint. But like in general, it's still missing here. And we have not proper infrastructure here. And we have, as I'm calling, paperful processes. And I'd like to show you the picture that I took. What does it mean, paperful processes? This is a picture of the Filipino post office that I took a couple years ago. And this is the process. Here you can see the data. Here you can touch the data, literally. And you have as much data, as much space you have in those notebooks. But like how you will turn these into the service. As a quite demanding customer, I'm not happy with the service that the Filipino Post is providing, exactly because of the picture that I'm showing to you. So we are in the Philippines. People are really used to live in this, and they are so used to that like they are afraid, and they were always afraid to go to online world. That's why Philippines are like slightly behind the world because of so many things. And one of that is the fear. Is the fear from the online world. What is it online? Like, should I go there? Can I go there? How can I go there? What should I do? People are used to pay the utility bills and like standing in the queues for like a really long time, withdraw the money, fill out the forms, and then like wait for the money to be received by one of the utility companies. And what the utility companies is doing, like they have also their collections departments, and they want to be sure that they will get the money for the services they provided back. So they will be calling the customers, they will be reminding the customers, but the customers will tell them, hey, I paid 2 days ago, the money is somewhere on the way. And what the COVID pandemic is doing, it's it's a catalyst for these changes. It's the acceleration of moving from offline world to online world. Here, as sourced from the BSP, that's the national bank here in the Philippines, only 5% of the customers are making regular digital payment. The rest, as Filipinos are saying, cash is the king. And here we are having like a really big responsibility for this change to be proper. We need to protect, we need to guide the customers, and we need to make sure that they will be happy to live within this new world. Everybody is calling it new normal. In some of the countries, the new normal will not be that different from the old one. It's we have some speakers here from Singapore, so I'm pretty sure that the guys knows they're like one of the top-notch digital country in the world. Whereas here, people are afraid to do so. They don't have a knowledge, like what does it mean? What can I do there? And there's a super like a custom. And we are here, and the environment and this COVID stuff is forcing them to change the behavior. So we are really seeing, as we speak, the things changing, behaviors being forced to change. And we need to be able, as companies, as an institution, and regardless if it's marketing, sales, if it's some like a life cycle or collections, we need to be able to leverage that and to make sure that we are providing proper service. And as Darwin and Pavel was saying, the segmentations, the basic segmentations, as I had in the example at the beginning, when we use super basic demographic data from one of the silos that we have in the bank, maybe it provided a good customer experience, but most probably not. And as we speak, everything is happening more and more fast. So let's take a look at the example of our bank. But let's add there a couple of things, and let's add there those outputs of the digital revolution that's happening. Let's add there more data. It can be, for this company, it can be the first party data, as Pavel was saying, because as it is a big bank, so they have a lot of departments. They were just not talking to each other. They have like a different data sources. So we will add those data together. And not just like adding those data together, but we need to make sure that we will create this proper digital footprint, that we will connect these pieces of information that the current world is offering us, and that will be more and more, as Darwin was saying, there's this like this super apps, and there will be more super apps, and they will have more data, and everybody will need to learn how to leverage that data. So we have a bank. We were able to break the silos. We were able to look at the data from different perspectives and what we have. So Maria, she's a nurse with no kids, but also she has 6 loans. She has 2 credit cards, 1 mortgage, and she's always paying late. All of those loans, all of the credit cards, she's always paying late. Quite important, interesting information. And look at Josh. Josh, despite the fact that he's only a worker, he has 2 kids, he has just 1 loan, no credit cards, no mortgage, and he's always paying on time. He's a really valuable and really customer that knows. So cool, let's go back to the decision. We just added information, and we might already have this information. It doesn't need to be necessarily coming from the digital changes that are happening right now. So we look at what we have, and we are at the decision point. We want to create the best service. So in this case, why would be calling Josh? He's a good customer, right? And the service that we want to provide should be, especially for collections, we need to provide invisible service. We cannot be visible. We cannot go on the marketing, on the internet everywhere, so reminding them about the payment. So we want to be discreet. And here, if we really want to do something, if we want to make sure that that the payment will come with this new information, we will most probably remind Mario. So, but like, what has changed here? The only change that happened here is that we leverage the data. We leverage the data from the current situation. We leverage internal data sources, external data sources, and it's not just about the data. You need to be able to get the insights from the data. Current situation is like making world much faster. What was happening, example here in the Philippines, that you send the money and it took like a couple of days for recipients to receive the money. Within last, I think, 5 years, the volume of the digital payment here in the Philippines increased 20 times, and there is a long way to go. And everything is happening much faster. This digital world is much faster, it has much more data, and this company, our bank, was able to leverage it. Pavel was saying that data is the new oil. I will maybe rephrase it, that the data is the new gold. That really is a new asset, it's a new commodity that its value is the same as the gold one. But what I truly believe is that it's about how you leverage the data. There will be a lot of data, and not all the data, as Darwin was saying, will win you the loyalty. When at the end of the day, you need to get a profit. And if you combine those two things, I think that the value of the data, insights, and proper interpretation is the key to success.
Fantastic. Guys, when I actually, we're talking about customer experience, and we're talking about segmentation, knowing your customer. We're talking about the customer journeys, how important loyalty is. And each and one of your presentation had the data as a major focus. Now, marketers out there are, maybe wondering, how do you even start with leveraging the data and turning in, the data into insights? And when I listened to your presentation, Pavel mentioned the first party data. Darwin mentioned data and trust is love. And Daniel is talking about how to leverage the data and to use it, for a practical profit of a bank. What would you say, and what would be your takeaway for the audience? How to actually start to build a better customer experience with the help of data? Would you help me, one and each of you, say one sentence or one advice for the audience? How to leverage the data? We start with Pavel, maybe, who is muted.
Sorry, I'm clicking around here a little bit. So one advice, to how to leverage the data. I think it's all comes down to what's the biggest and most current business goal. I think it's fundamentally whatever you do only matters if it's aligned with the organizational goals. So making sure that happens, and making sure that whatever goals or activity you are doing, you're tracking it. Hence this webinar, right? Like, we had a very hard goals, wanting a certain audience. We said we want at least 100 people in the room, 200 people registered. We got about 300 registered. Right now, I think when I looked a couple seconds ago, there's still 104 people on the call, which is pretty good impact. So that's, that's a measurable data-driven.
So can I rephrase it? So basically you have to have a business strategy aligned with the data strategy. So the data strategy can't be missing in a way, right? Nowadays. So that's the real thing. Thank you. Darwin, what's your take on that?
Right. So I think I'll extend what Pavel just mentioned. You have to have a business strategy. And I think one key takeaway that we've observed is that consumers want to give you data. They want you to get to know them. So having that business strategy is one part, and having that CX practice, that customers experience practice, is another part. That's it.
So I was out for a second. I'm not sure if there is a storm coming to Singapore, but thank you for that. Daniel, I have a question to you because you said that the digitalization is basically up and coming in Philippines. And you mentioned that there is maybe a certain fear to use online services. But what I hear is that in Philippines, TikTok is absolutely surging and it's very, very popular. How would you actually say that, how did you as an organization started to leverage data for your customer experience and then defining, how you know your customers? And how do you actually work with this obstacle of a lower online presence?
We as a company, we have as I said, we have a lot of data, but we have also a lot of customers, and every customer is unique. So we are combining insights that we are getting from the data, from the behavior, and also from the customers itself. We are running so many marketing surveys and panels and discussions with our customers. We are asking them what they want. And we are combining those things, that there is this fear and this digital transformation is happening. And we are really trying to combine what they want, what they are expecting, and give them the assurance, as Darwin was saying, that online world, if it's properly set up, is safe. And we as a company and we as companies, we have certain responsibilities, and we are all following them, because once we will lose the trust, there is no way back.
I like that. And I think it's so true that we need to be very transparent about the data usage. It actually leads to the trust, and it leads to the better customer experience. We are over the time. I thank you so much, guys, for this session. I asked the audience what they would like to hear in the next webinar, and what we hear and what I can read here, it is about the effective marketing strategies. It's about the technologies to use to actually leverage the data. It's about the social entrepreneurship, which is great, and what the organization should do now in marketing when shifting to the new normal. And just for everyone who is still with us, this is the poll results. So it looks like that, you guys kind of know them, the customers. So maybe we can as well look at the next topic to be like, how do you actually reach that you know the customers well? What do you need to do as an organization? And how do you align the business strategies with the data strategies to actually circle the organizational effort across the organization into building this customer, consumer, user knowledge? Thank you so much for everyone who's still with us. We will be back, and I thank you guys for your presentations and your insights. Have a very good day wherever you are. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.